Drake uploaded a track to YouTube with no press release, no radio rollout, no label promo infrastructure, and pulled 1.1 million views before most music journalists had even written the headline. The title? Too hard for the radio. Not a description. Not a flex. A warning shot, and you almost missed what it was actually aimed at. This was not a casual drop. The Vevo timestamp, the cold upload, the deliberate absence of every single traditional release mechanism, these were not accidents. Each one was a choice. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what Drake was hiding inside a move the whole internet watched without seeing. This week, Drake's Too Hard for the Radio crossed 1.1 million YouTube views with zero traditional label promo spend, no radio servicing, no playlist pitching infrastructure, no coordinated press day. That is not just a curiosity. That is a data point that terrifies an entire layer of the music industry. Because if the biggest artist on the planet can manufacture a viral moment without the machinery, then the machinery is not the product. The access to the audience is the product. And Drake just proved he owns that access outright. Music industry analyst data from Nielsen Music has consistently shown that streaming velocity in the first 48 hours is now the primary chart positioning signal, outweighing radio airplay in every major market. Drake's cold drop landed directly in that 48-hour window with no dilution. The question every label executive and every independent creator should be asking right now is the same question: what exactly did he know that the rest of the market did not? Because the answer changes how content gets released, permanently. You've been in this exact situation. You watch a massive artist drop something out of nowhere, you share it, you stream it, and somewhere in the back of your mind you think, must be nice to be at that level where you can just do that. But here is what that thought actually reveals. You have been treating the platform as the barrier, when the platform is the bridge. Every time you told yourself that you needed more followers, more budget, more connections before you could make a move that lands, you were looking at the machinery and calling it the ceiling. Drake did not have a label cosign on this drop. He had a direct line to an audience that trusts his next move more than it trusts any curator. That trust was not bought this week. It was built, one calculated release at a time, over years. And the uncomfortable part? The mechanism he used to build it is not exclusive to him. You have been watching the blueprint play out in public every single time and calling it luck. That makes sense, because the surface reading of this story is obvious. Drake bypassed radio because he is big enough to not need it. Independence from gatekeepers is the reward for reaching a certain level. That is what most media coverage said this week. And that narrative is almost entirely wrong. Here is the evidence. Drake's Scary Hours dropped in January 2018, no promo, no radio rollout, and occupied the top 3 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 simultaneously. At that point in his career, he absolutely could have used the full label machinery. He chose not to. Then, Scary Hours 2 in March 2021, same structure, same cold drop, same result, 3 songs in the top 4 of the Hot 100 within 72 hours. Music business researcher Tatiana Surisano, writing for MIDA Research, documented that these drops created what she termed demand spikes, concentrated streaming bursts that the algorithm reads as breakout signals rather than sustained release signals. The cold drop is not an escape from the system. It is a precision exploit of the system. Bypassing radio is not the goal, it is the method. The goal is triggering the algorithm's breakout detection at maximum velocity with zero audience dilution from a weeks-long promo cycle. So the real story is simple: Drake released Too Hard for the Radio because radio would not play it. The content was too raw, too unpolished for broadcast standards, and he knew it, so he took it directly to the fans who would appreciate it without the filter. That is the clean, satisfying explanation. But here is what no one tells you. The title is not a complaint. It is the product strategy. By naming the track Too Hard for the Radio, Drake preloaded the search term, the share motivation, and the identity signal into the title itself. Every fan who streams it is not just listening, they are broadcasting a personal statement: I listen to what radio cannot handle. The exclusion framing is the marketing. The track does not need radio because the title already makes every listener feel like an insider who found something the mainstream missed. That psychological architecture, making the audience feel like they discovered a secret, is one of the most powerful retention mechanisms in content creation, and Drake embedded it in 4 words. Here is where the data becomes impossible to ignore. Vevo-hosted videos on YouTube operate under a distinct partnership arrangement with YouTube's recommendation system. When a Vevo upload generates high engagement velocity in the first 6 hours, measured by view rate, share rate, and comment velocity, the video receives priority placement in YouTube's trending and up next pools independent of paid promotion. Drake's Too Hard for the Radio hit over 400,000 views in its first 6 hours with no external ad spend, no playlist placement campaign, and no radio cosign. That engagement rate triggered the algorithmic priority window that paid promotion campaigns spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to replicate. Lyor Cohen, YouTube's global head of music, stated publicly in 2019 that direct-to-platform drops create measurable urgency spikes in recommendation pools that sustained promotional rollouts simply cannot manufacture. The concentrated audience arrival matters more to the algorithm than the total promotional budget. In 3 minutes, you'll see the one mistake that destroys even people who know all of this. Now consider the search dimension. The title, Too Hard for the Radio, generated a unique long-tail search term that no other content competes for, meaning every search click routes directly back to Drake, with zero competitor content siphoning the traffic. This works exactly like a controlled burn in forestry management. Forest managers set a small, deliberate fire in a targeted area to consume the dry fuel on the ground, so that when a natural wildfire hits, there is nothing left to feed an uncontrolled spread. Drake's cold drop functions on the same principle. Step 1. Eliminate the promo cycle. A weeks-long rollout distributes audience attention across interviews, snippets, and press cycles, burning the initial excitement before the release. Cold drop removes all of that, banking the audience's anticipation for a single ignition moment. Step 2. Concentrate the arrival window. When the drop hits, every fan arrives within the same 24 to 48-hour window. The algorithm reads this as a breakout event rather than a standard release, triggering the recommendation pool priority that organic growth cannot manufacture otherwise. Step 3. The title does the ongoing work. After the launch window closes, Too Hard for the Radio continues generating shares because every person who posts it is making a personal identity statement, not promoting a product. Real Parallel, Drake's Scary Hours, 2018, followed this exact 3-step structure and placed 3 songs simultaneously in the Billboard Hot 100 Top 3, a feat previously achieved only by the Beatles in 1964. The mechanism is documented, repeatable, and hiding in plain sight. Here is where it goes wrong, every time. A creator or artist watches a cold drop work for Drake and concludes that the lesson is, skip the promo. They post without context, without a title engineered for identity, without a concentrated audience who trusts the next move. And they get silence. The mechanism requires all 3 steps, but most people only copy step 1. The gap is trust equity. Drake spent years running a specific kind of release, calculated surprise drops, starting with If You're Reading This It's Too Late in 2015, which sold 495,000 copies in its first week with virtually no traditional promotion. Each drop built audience expectation for the next. Without that accumulated trust, a cold drop is just a quiet upload. You could be making this exact mistake right now, posting without building the expectation architecture that makes the absence of promo feel like a signal rather than an oversight. The cold drop only works when the audience is already leaning forward. If they are not, the controlled burn has no fuel, and nothing ignites. Now you can see the full architecture. And now you have what you need to actually use it. 3 concrete steps, in order. Step 1. Build release trust before the release. Every piece of content you publish before a drop is training your audience to expect and trust the next move. Drake's cold drops work because his audience has been conditioned by years of calculated surprise. Start building that conditioning now, consistent, high-conviction output that signals you know what you are doing. Step 2. Engineer the title as an identity statement, not a description. Your title should make every person who shares it feel like they are saying something about themselves. Too Hard for the Radio is not a title, it is a badge. You have the same tool available right now. Step 3. Protect the arrival window. Do not dilute your audience's attention with a weeks-long promo cycle that burns the anticipation before the launch. Concentrate the moment. Let the drop land with full force. You have the mechanism. You have the evidence. You have the 3 steps. The only variable left is whether you decide to act on it, or whether you keep watching other people run this playbook and calling it luck. You now understand what 97% of people watching that Drake upload never figured out. They saw a view count. You saw the mechanism. The identity-engineered title, the algorithm breakout trigger, the trust equity built across years of calculated drops, you see all of it now. Creators who apply this framework are not guessing. They are running a documented system that Drake has proven at scale across multiple releases. If this gave you a new way of seeing how content actually moves, hit like so this reaches the people who need it. Drop a comment with which of the 3 steps you are starting with. And subscribe, because every week on this channel, we pull apart the hidden mechanics behind the content that moves the internet. The ones that look like luck. They never are.